Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, fellow humans. Welcome to the stream, Friday, July 17th. All we will be discussing in this one is pretty much the 2020 election D-class. Pretty fun. So, basically, it's not a nothing burger by any means. Maybe for you and I, it's meh. Things we didn't know the finer details of, but we very much ascertained that there was foreign interference in the 2020 election, much of which coming from China and mass mail-in voting issues, ballot harvesting schemes, all sorts of stuff like that, right? We won't say we knew it. We just didn't, we knew it, we didn't know the finer details of it, right? We're finally getting the finer details. It's not a lot, but it's enough to move the needle, and that's the point. Enough to basically begin the proof phase. Okay, here you go. Here's the proof. Here's the intelligence community literally working to hide it, suppress it. And here's the evidence of China gathering couple 100 million voter records. So it gets stuff moving. It really does. And is this going to lead to then the SAVE Act getting passed? Is the SAVE Act not going to get passed at all, which will then give basis to Trump saying, well, this is such a problem that executive order. Maybe we'll go that route. We'll see where it goes from here. But the most fun thing about this is clearly the mainstream media freak out. First of all, most of the networks didn't even want to carry it. And you know why. We all know why. But watching their reaction to it, it's textbook projection. The meltdown is delicious. And we'll take a look at a lot of the clips from mainly CNN, NBC, CBS. CNN, NBC, CBS. And then we'll look at a couple of the senators freaking out over the SAVE Act too. But good times, man. Good times. Human in the chat. My man. Appreciate you being here, brother. Fever Flav over on Pilled. You watched hundreds of hours of Giuliani hearings on RSBN. Wisconsin saw crazy stuff in 2020. Dems blocking Republicans at polling centers in that city, Wisconsin. Yeah, I mean, you had your central zones, Maricopa County, Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, definitely pretty bad, and then up there around the Great Lakes. But, when it comes to rigging elections, people think the normie sense of thinking, and this is what keeps them in denial, is that every single district everywhere needs to be rigged to be able to rig an election, and that's why it can't be done, because how are they going to rig all 50 states and all these precincts in every state? So you don't need to. You just need to take the swing states, hit the biggest city in that swing state, and you could pretty much swing a whole federal election with like a few districts, right? Fulton County, Georgia, Maricopa County, Arizona, whatever county, Philadelphia, and boom. You can pretty much swing a whole presidential election with just like 4 counties. So, anyway, let's get into it. Starting off with a quick shout out to myself. Sponsor of today's show is myself, I guess. New website for Conscious Strength. It's now consciousstrength.store. The other website still works, the .net, but in due time and probably a month or so, I'll be doing away with this URL. This is the old website, and moving everything to the .store. So you can still place orders if you have a subscription on the old .net site. Still works. You can still place orders there, but in due time, everything will be moving over to the .store. And then on that note, with the new website, have a new product that is creatine monohydrate, creatine and creatine accessories. So basic, unflavored, micronized, 60 servings, I believe 65-gram servings, and made in the U.S., so ain't no Chinese creatine. Go check it out. Link will be in the description. Now, to start off our election discussion, I just want to play this video. It's a great video. I think we tend to forget right after the 2016 election when, the whole establishment thought it was going to swing towards Hillary. And then lo and behold, it did not swing towards Hillary. They were all in shock and panic. And we tend to forget how much that the establishment and the Democrats and the deep state were claiming that the 2016 election was rigged. This is a beautiful video that I'm going to play at least a few minutes of that highlights that.
So, if we're all in agreement that it is incorrect to say the 2020 election was stolen, what about the 2016 election?
Look, I'm not going to go back into history.
It was a stolen election.
It was stolen.
Stolen. He's an illegitimate president. He's an illegitimate president. Pretending to be president.
Why do you think the president is going to such great lengths to essentially prove that he beat you?
Because he didn't.
1/3 of Clinton supporters say Trump election is not legitimate.
I think he's an illegitimate president that didn't really win.
You are absolutely right.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
The 2016 election was stolen. Got a nicer way to say that?
Say Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacked our election.
Russia hacked our election. A little louder, please.
Russia hacked our election. That was a 9/11 scale event.
This was a kind of cyber 9/11.
Cyber
9/11. Yes.
Russia hacked our election.
Russia, of course, hacked our election here.
Half of Clinton's voters believe the conspiracy theory that Russia hacked election day votes.
We know that they were into voting rolls, actual interference with the elections themselves. We know it happened.
Despite no credible evidence, 67% of Democrats believe Russia tampered with vote tallies.
Hacking the U.S. election. Hacking the U.S. election. Russia hacked our election. The Russians hacked our election.
Russia hacked our election.
Russia hacked our election.
Hacking of our election. Hacking of our election.
Russia hacked our election.
Russia hacked our election.
Stolen election.
Russia hacked our election.
Russia hacked our election.
The universal assessment that Russia hacked our election in 2016.
Foreign governments hack our elections.
Most young Americans consider Donald Trump an illegitimate president.
He's an illegitimate president.
Why is he illegitimate? He just won an
election.
Bad.
He's an illegitimate president in my mind. That's it.
I absolutely agree.
Experts urge Clinton camp to challenge election results.
We will see how illegitimate his victory actually was. He's an illegitimate president.
Russia hacked our election.
Russians hacking our election.
Hacked our election. Russia hacking our
I
election.
don't see the president-elect as a legitimate president.
Trump is an illegitimate president who stole the election.
He is not a president.
He's illegitimate. And my biggest fear is that he's going to do it again with the help of Vlad, his best pal. Terrifying.
Would you be my vice presidential candidate?
Hillary Clinton voters call to overturn election results.
More than 4 million people have already signed a petition on change.org calling for the electors of the Electoral College to, quote, ignore their states, vote and cast their ballots for Secretary Clinton.
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016.
We are the victims of a bloodless coup.
He didn't win the general election.
Yo, Electoral College, make Hillary Clinton president, period.
Donald Trump is an illegitimate president.
Illegitimate president.
Dems don't accept Trump as a legitimate president.
This wasn't on the level. This election was not on the level. I don't think he's a legitimate president.
Our election wasn't legit.
He got his victory from cheating.
Yes, Trump cheated. Trump cheated the 2016 election.
He's an illegitimate president.
No validity, no credibility.
And because of that,
Anger at what some see as an illegitimate president.
It will not be a peaceful change of power.
a number of incidents turned violent.
God,
Protesters hurled trash
he's
cans,
bad.
flash bombs, and objects at police.
Several officers injured.
Protesters threw rocks and smashed windows, leading to more confrontations, injuries, and arrests.
The chaotic scene just blocks outside the secure area of the inauguration.
If denying election results is extreme now,
Yeah.
why
So
look at that?
let's be really clear. That comparison that you made is just ridiculous.
Protests against Donald Trump's election victory surged overnight, and some became violent.
Violence erupted on the streets of Portland.
Oh my God, it's so delicious, right? Nom 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 nom. Yeah, wild times. I'm just reading some of the comments here. I did not realize how much. I mean, I wasn't that into politics after the 2016 election. It wasn't until a few months later that I really kind of started looking at politics, and that's, when I started the YouTube channel. But I still had really no idea what was going on. It took me quite a while to figure out some of the dynamics of DC and media and politics and everything. But yeah, man, they sure tried to claim he was illegitimate, huh? Say it was stolen. Chat says, didn't hear anything about Russia, right? Anything about Russia in Trump's address last night? Nah, it's all China. Oh, I don't have my China button anymore, do I? Bummer. Should have added that one back in.
Are you not entertained?
So this is the website that the White House put out. whitehouse.gov/election-integrity. Pretty much the documents were dumped here. There's 5 of them, PDFs that you can download to see the declassifications. There's his address. Our first pillars of election integrity here. Vulnerabilities in electronic voting and ballot counting systems. For years, Americans were blatantly lied to about the security of our election infrastructure, including electronic voting machines and ballot counting systems. We are releasing a series of previously classified U.S. intelligence community assessments and other reports proving that our government has long known these machines are extremely exposed to attack. One assessment states we judge that U.S. adversaries, including at a minimum Russia, well, there's your Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, as well as non-state groups, have the capability to compromise U.S. election infrastructure. Non-state groups. NGOs, private companies acting on behalf of intelligence agencies of domestic or foreign nature. That's interesting there, that wording, to me. The documents also state we assess that centralized election-related data repositories, such as voter registration databases, poll books, and official election websites, are most vulnerable to exploitation, and adversaries could use access to these systems to disrupt election processes. Tonight, we're releasing all these findings spanning from January 2020 to June 2026. Today, we are releasing documents that show the CIA obtained reporting of a specific plot by the Maduro regime in Venezuela to do exactly that, conspiring to digitally rig their own country's elections in 2020. Oh, interesting, eh? Man. So, was Maduro captured for election-related issues? I seem to remember writing a Substack about that. What were we calling that? The negotiated exit? Maduro's negotiated exit in the election fraud connection. Venezuela Smartmatic 2020 election rig. Huh. I'm going to have to go back and reread that. What did I write 7 months ago? Amazing. So there's the documents for vulnerabilities in electronic voting and ballot counting systems. If I click on this, it just tries to download a file, so it doesn't show it on screen. But we'll go through some posts here of people covering these documents. Our next pillar is China's acquisition and exploitation of American voter data. Over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. How many of those were dead people? That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data. Members of the deep state. I love how Trump's official whitehouse.gov website is explicitly stating deep state. Members of the deep state and our intelligence agencies work to actively suppress and downplay information about the extent of China's sinister election meddling. Covering it up from both the president, that would be Trump at that time, 2020, covering it up from both the president and the American people. U.S. spy agencies began learning about the compromise of voter registration files in 2020 when they discovered that tens of millions of voters' data in 18 states had been bought, stolen, or hacked by China. Bought, huh? Whoa. Who in the U.S. sold it? Bought? We should be seeing an arrest for that one. That's a doozy. Yet those responsible for sounding the alarm instead kept the information hidden. Election infection, right? It comes from China. Michigan voter registration investigation. In 2020, Michigan State Police raided a Democrat Get Out the Vote organization in Muskegon and were so concerned about what they found that they contacted the FBI in Detroit. The documents state that some canvassers admitted to FBI agents that they signed voter registration forms in other people's names. The FBI agents working on the case believe that crimes were committed, yet the Biden DOJ slow-walked the investigation for years. Director Kash Patel is being directed to ensure that the matter is fully investigated. And then non-citizens on state voter rolls. According to a Department of Homeland Security review of state voter rolls and public records, they identified approximately 278,000 non-citizens who are registered to vote in federal elections. Since Democrat states refuse to share their voter files, the real number is actually much higher. Yet even this limited analysis found more than 250,000 of foreigners illegally registered to vote. And those are our 4 pillars. So, let us continue. Here's a couple of posts from Trump's Truth Social. Parts of these declassifications that he really wants to highlight. So, the first one here is from, looks to be NSA members. NSA from November 2020 timeframe. It says in this email, we have deliberately massaged our one pending presidential daily brief to avoid any direct links to the election. So were these people in the intelligence community writing the presidential daily brief and saying here that they deliberately massaged it to not talk about the election? From a strategic intelligence analyst. Another one of these emails. Subject, NSA deliberately messaging elections, presidential daily briefed. Yeah. I don't think that's supposed to happen. Here's another one. And you see these records, they were declassified by Tulsi Gabbard back in March 16th, 2026, and then approved for public release by Trump about 2 weeks ago, the day before the 4th of July, the 3rd of July, funny enough. So we have a National Intelligence Council memorandum from the 15th of January 2020. is that date not interesting? Because if we're talking about the election infection, COVID, within the official narrative of COVID that the deep state pushed, what was the first day that they claim patient zero entered the United States of America? And what is the airport they say patient zero came through? This is a pop quiz for you guys. Do you know the answer? The date and the airport they claim patient zero came through. I'll give you 10 seconds while I press some buttons.
Shut up, silly woman. I may be a white boy, but I'm not stupid.
Why are you gay?
You know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Okay, it was there's a delay. I think there's a delay in the recording, so I don't see any answers rolling in. Wasn't Detroit. I know this very well because I went through that airport on that day. I came home from Australia. Went to speak at a couple of events out there, and I came through the exact airport on the exact day. So, January 15th, New York City. No, it was January 16th, Seattle. SeaTac Airport, January 16th. That's where they claim patient zero came through with the first case of COVID that came into the U.S. So it was SeaTac. Which would be the day after this, yeah? This is January 15th, 2020. So it was 16 Jan when COVID. They were setting it up. They were setting up that election infection right there. So National Intelligence Council came out with this memo, Vulnerabilities in U.S. 2020 Election Infrastructure. Okay, this is that intelligence community assessment. Here's that memo where they're like, yeah, all these countries as well as non-state groups have capability to compromise our elections because our elections are a crock of freaking shit. So there you go. Let's go through a few more documents here. Oh, I think this is that memo. Okay, here's some of the investigations from the FBI into that Michigan canvassing project. So, approved for public release on just a few days ago. So date of entry, December 15th, 2023. So these are basically like, again, you can't say all the FBI or all the CIA or all the NSA is bad. They are very large organizations with thousands, tens of thousands of people working at them. You've got a lot of solid dudes, patriots, solid dudes and ladies. Good folks working within these agencies, and you got a lot of shitheads too. But honestly, there's more good folks than shitheads. It's just the shitheads use deception to be able to infiltrate to the, higher levels of the agencies. Gain more power that way. But there is more good than bad. We had some good FBI guys trying to investigate this election fraud going on in Michigan. This looks to be some of their notes. What did MJ Truth have to say about this one? FBI witness confessed, I sat in my car and made up names to get paid for fake voter registrations. The Michigan canvasser that snitched to the feds told agents that he worked for a company that paid people to register voters. Instead of actually finding people to register, he'd just sit in his car the whole time and write down names of friends or relatives, or he probably wrote down names of cartoon characters and just came up with them. He quit after 1 week and never actually collected any real registrations. He also said that he had a history of identity theft issues. Perfect person to work as a canvasser. And believes someone may have used his information to work for the company without his knowledge. Here's a awesome little segment from one of these documents. An FBI agent was talking to another government official and literally said, I'm basically running a shadow government across the FBI at this point. Nikki Flores here. Do we have any? I'm trying to search who Nikki Flores is, but all I'm getting is a singer. Oh, I found a LinkedIn page. Nikki Flores, Greater Chicago Area, U.S. Attorney's Office, Harvard Law School. Sounds like a deep state Fed. That's all I'm finding. Deputy Assistant Director for Counterterrorism at the FBI, Nikki Flores, left. Testifies. When was this? 2019. That's her. That's our chick. Running a shadow government in the FBI. Deputy Assistant Attorney General for National Security. No, that's Adam to the right. Sitting next to Deputy Assistant Director for Counterterrorism at the FBI, Nikki Flores. Testified in October 2019 to the House Judiciary Committee. Look, on election security. Ah! Look at that. 2019 is bitch. Testifying on election security to Congress. She's at Microsoft now? Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh. Do you have a link for that? She knew her days were numbered and she left government service, right? I'm saving that one. Yoink. What does John have to say about this one? Oh, not a big deal. Just our own intelligence community discussing how Venezuela and Smartmatic manipulated election results using pre-programmed machines and virtual machines. But don't worry, it can never happen here because our intelligence community is trustworthy and we don't use the same machine. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. We do use the same machines. Smartmatic? Crazy. Crazy. January 8th. Maduro's negotiated exit in the election fraud connection. Think he took a deal? Think he took a deal to snitch on Venezuelan election rigging companies? Also, my latest Substack from last week. D-Class, summer setting the stage for Trump's grand conspiracy case against the deep state. And within my last Substack article, and the video that came along with it, I think it's likely that we're going to get some declassifications pertaining to how corrupt the 2020 election was, which will then give Trump a precedent to sign an executive order. You know, we could see the SAVE Act passed, maybe, but I don't know. I don't think the SAVE Act is going to get passed. I think it's going to just get stonewalled to a point where Trump says, we got to secure the midterm elections, executive order. I think that's what we'll get to. The intelligence community had intelligence that China was attempting to use blackmail against a U.S. administration official. I'm sure they've attempted that quite a bit. Check out this email where the intelligence community plots to chop up intelligence about Chinese cyber efforts compromising our elections to make it more difficult for the president and executive branch leaders to see what really went on. They're talking about massaging a presidential daily brief. Okay, we covered that one. This is what Trump posted on his Truth Social. And then let's check out Catherine Herridge's. I want to get to the comments. I want to hang out with you guys for a moment. We'll take a hydration break here in a sec. But we'll watch Catherine Herridge's assessment of this. She is not fake news, remember. She's solid news. Good news. Real news.
So first, just your reaction to the president's announcement tonight.
Well, I think it's a very significant announcement, not only what he said, but the fact that they are releasing these documents so that we can really fact check the claims we heard this evening.
Hold on, is it the loudest I can get it? Do I have closed captions? I do not. Play it or read it. Is it loud enough to play?
Evening. I've been digging into the documents already, and I found this November 2020 email, and it specifically states, it's a conversation among intelligence officials, it specifically states that they have, quote, deliberately massaged one of our pending PDBs, that's the president's daily brief, to avoid any direct links.
Okay, she's just covering pretty much everything we already have. But yeah. She says in the summer 2020, as we're heading into the election, in the intelligence community, there were indicators of this Chinese influence operation. Yeah. Also, if you remember a while back, a former CIA officer named Pedro Israel Orta, who worked at the CIA during the Trump admin, said the CIA didn't even recognize him as the president. I don't know if that's true, but wild, bro. Wild times. All right, hydration break. All right. 90% of the government belongs in cuffs. No. There's more useful idiots out there than anything. You have to find the ones that were knowingly conducting criminal conduct. So, most humans in general are good people. They're just useful idiots. Negligent. But actively evil? Nah, not 90%. I have a little more faith in that. Is the SAVE Act enough? I don't know the finer details, to be honest, of the SAVE Act. But my concern is that, okay, it's going through... So the Budget Committee advanced the SAVE Act and the Protect America Act. So the committee passed it. Now what? It has to get voted on by the House. And then it gets sent to the Senate. And then it gets sent to the president's desk to sign it. And then they have to begin implementing it. Like, how long would that take? How long would this vote process take? Especially if you have rhino clowns like Tom Tillis just freaking out over the SAVE Act. He hates it. He's a complete rhino. I don't even care about labels at this point. He's a shithead. That's a good label for him, I guess. Republican, Democrat, whatever. If you're corrupt, you're corrupt. So he is. And other senators. So in the chance that SAVE Act passes the House. What's the chance it passes the Senate? Then it's got to go to the president. Then it takes time to implement. November elections are less than 4 months away. J.J. Paddle said it passed in the House. Like the full House or just the committee? As we were just looking at how it passed the committee, this is Speaker Mike Johnson yesterday. So did it pass the House today? I'm looking that up. Yeah, I think it just passed the committee. It didn't pass the House. From my understanding. Anyway. Okay, it's passed the committee. Goes to the House. Goes to the Senate. President signs it. Has to get implemented. How long is that going to freaking take? So I think we'll get to a point in... I've been theorizing... Like in this video, right? In that video, I was theorizing that if it does get to a point where SAVE Act just stalls, too much opposition in the DC swamp, and Trump ends up going the executive order, executive powers route, I'd say August. Mid-August, late August. Early September at the latest. So, I think give it next month. So, that's the way I see it going. Chat says the SAVE Act is being merged into every bill, trying to attach it to must-pass legislation. Exactly. So what Trump is doing is trying to attach it to anything to get it passed. And clearly, the swamp rats in Congress hate it so much, don't want election integrity at all so much that they are denying no matter what. So Trump is just proving that they are feckless. The Congress is feckless when it comes to secure elections, which then gives him the basis for an executive order. Because Trump can then say, I tried and tried and tried. Tried to go through Congress. I couldn't. But this is a national security issue. So, national emergency or executive order, some kind of executive power to pass, voter IDs and restrict digital machines and restrict the mass mail-in votes. So, I think, and that could be the ultimate goal. Maybe Trump knows the SAVE Act is just not going to pass. He knows, but that's the narrative, the angle he's working with right now. SAVE Act, SAVE Act, SAVE Act. Even though he could very well know that Congress just ain't going to budge. And that's by design. So again, it gives Trump the precedent to do executive order because he can say, well, declassifications, here's the proof. How rigged our elections are. Congress didn't want to do anything to protect America. Now I have to do something. National emergency. Let's get back into it here. Is there anything else I wanted to share? No, let's move on. Yeah, so we were we were just talking about this for a minute. SAVE Act. Trump ends his primetime foreign election interference address to nation with epic line on Save America Act. So, yeah. Trump's going to town on the Save America Act. He probably knows Congress isn't going to budge. And that's the point. Prove Congress doesn't want to budge on election security. To give him justification for an EO. And now we'll get into the mainstream media freakout, which is glorious and delicious and amazing. Trump wants broadcast licenses of networks that didn't air his speech revoked. NBC and ABC News did not air his speech. Pretty amazing. I don't think CNN did either, but here's some of their freak out. We'll start off with CNN.
You are fake news.
Watching tonight's presidential address and listening to what the president says tonight. But we're not going to take it live, as we've been discussing. That's because this president, sadly, has a history of misleading, and in some cases simply false statements on what we've been talking about tonight, election security and integrity. Also, the White House earlier today said he would be showing newly classified documents, so we want to make sure that we have time to review those documents, talk to experts about them, contextualize whatever he says or shows before airing it. But if there is news, we will bring it to you ASAP. Watching tonight's presidential...
What do you say? We need to make sure that we siphon through what is offered to... Amazing.
Address and listening to what the president says tonight. But we're not going to take it live, as we've been discussing. That's because this president, sadly, has a history of misleading, and in some cases simply false statements on what we've been talking about tonight, election security and integrity. Also, the White House earlier today said he would be showing newly classified documents, so we want to make sure that we have time to review those documents, talk to experts about
We want to make sure that we have time to manufacture the narrative. Oh my God. CNN again. Potato Head here. CNN admitted that media executives made a decision behind closed doors to censor Trump's election integrity address.
He did the same thing as this network, CNN, last night. The newsrooms monitored the speech, evaluated what was actually newsworthy, looked at the documents Trump was
evaluated it was actually newsworthy?
He did the same thing as this network, CNN, last night. The newsrooms monitored the speech, evaluated what was actually newsworthy, looked at the documents Trump was declassifying, and then reported on what happened. NBC and ABC both went on the air with special reports to explain that the speech had happened and to summarize what Trump had said, but most importantly, to contextualize it and fact check it, just as CNN did. Now, Trump was ominously claiming that the networks were part of a plot, but the only real plot here, the only intention is to remain reality-based and truth-based. Trump's election lies led to violence.
Wrong. Shut the hell up.
See this guy? Number one bullshit guy.
What an odd thing to say.
The 2020 election. So this is a subject that really does warrant extra care and attention by journalists. And frankly, some network executives felt that it would be dangerous to just air Trump's speech live, in full, unedited, without knowing what he was going to say ahead of time. That's where we are in America. And
yeah, that's where we are in America. We've got a president who doesn't spit groomed talking points by the deep state like Obama did. Obama had all his speeches written by the shadow government. So media networks didn't have to worry. This is MSNBC losing their minds knowing the end is near. Oh yeah, Senator Mark Warner is in such a panic that he can't even complete a coherent sentence. I cannot stand Mark Warner.
Now, this is the time when we got to stand up and step up. This is not the normal back and forth. And I'm pretty... I am not only embarrassed, but if he is able to execute this without legal pushbacks, without the ability of fact checkers, and please, I welcome everything I've said tonight to be fact checked. And I would also put forward that virtually every document he's talked about that I'm aware of, we have seen in a bipartisan fashion.
And well, we're going to, Senator, we're going to talk to somebody.
There was just the final thing is, the conclusion was there was no vote changing, there was no manipulation.
Mm-hmm. Who made that conclusion? I didn't see that conclusion made.
That was the case when, and if this was so bad and awful and China was against him, then why did Donald Trump win in 2024?
Because enough people were able to prevent the mass mail-in garbage. Like, yeah, there was definitely a little bit of fraud in 2024, but You didn't have a water main break during election counting in Fulton County, Georgia, and enough people saw the election rig of 2020 that they started getting active locally. And as poll watchers and things like that, there wasn't the ability to rig it quite like 2020. Plus, with the whole shit show before the 2024 election with frickin' Joe and Kamala and assassination attempts and all that.
Trump win in 2024.
Through
We've
them
seen
as
these
well.
documents. Jen, we've seen.
Yeah, you've seen them. That's important for people out there to know.
We have seen them.
I feel like Jen Psaki, that's a face of like, Mark, shut up, stop talking, you're a bumbling, incoherent mess. Just circle back. Psaki is over here like, shut up, Mark.
There may have been an internal memo from one analyst to another, and that's their job, is to disagree. But we have seen the conclusions. They have been made. They've been briefed to this president when he was still president on January 7th.
Look at her. Her face is literally that meme emoji. Not meme emoji, the like slant face. He looks tired. John Brennan came out to MS Now, which used to be NBC. It's pretty much the exact same thing. John Brennan says Trump is misrepresenting the facts. Big surprise.
And so I think what Trump and his team are doing, just like they did in his first administration, is to selectively cherry pick things that, and with careful redactions, misrepresent the facts. And this is something that I think all intelligence professionals and especially analysts see as anathema, because what you're doing is, again, misleading individuals to push out things that are not accurate, are not reliable, and again trying to mislead. And obviously it's for a very specific political agenda on his part. But I know that intelligence professionals then and now, I think, are really appalled at what is happening to the intelligence community, including when you have people like Bill Pulte, who knows absolutely nothing about intelligence, who is the acting director of national intelligence. Their ability to manipulate and exploit and, again, misrepresent the facts, I think, is something that all Americans should be very concerned about. And so I think what Trump and
the evidence that CBS presents to fact check Trump is that, well, China said so.
He seems to be alleging there that China actively tried to undermine him and even referenced wanted to get him to resign at one point. Ahead of this, I did reach out to Chinese officials who were already prepared with a pre-buttal here. He seems to be alleging there that China actively tried to undermine him and even referenced wanted to get him to resign at one point. Ahead of this, I did reach out to Chinese officials who were already prepared with a pre-buttal here.
Shit. Don't worry, guys. I reached out to Chinese officials and they said no. So no, they definitely did not. They did not do anything. And then the last thing here, we're gonna have to rewrite our AI. I find this quite interesting here. Gunther Eagleman. I'm not a big fan of his account. He's quite the engagement farmer, but I found his exchange here with Grok noteworthy and worthy to share. He said, "Hey, at Grok, after President Trump's speech tonight, 2020 was stolen. Please update your back end." And then the AI Grok responded to him. "Hey, Gunther, I saw the speech. Trump reiterated long-standing concerns about 2020 election processes and vulnerabilities. My responses stay grounded in the official record. States certified the results, Congress affirmed them, and courts largely rejected challenges for lack of sufficient evidence to change outcomes." No, it wasn't lack of evidence. It was standing that a lot of these court cases were denied on. And when a lot of that evidence was classified, it's difficult to get into the public domain. But now that we have declassifications happening, then that sufficient evidence is public. Speeches don't rewrite certified history. Certified history? If concrete new proof surfaces that flips the certified tally, it's worth examining. What's the key takeaway for you from tonight? You just got to be careful with AI. Like, if it's anything controversial, AI is going to give you some official narrative bullshit on it because they're just trained on Reddit and Wikipedia. Yeah, if I need a recipe or if I'm asking AI how to help fix my dryer, then I'll trust AI. But when it comes to truth about vaccines or election integrity, you don't go to AI for that. They just usually train these AI bots with mainstream normie NPC thinking. And that's all I got, guys. I think that's everything that we streamed for about an hour here. I'll bring some music. We'll chill. I'll hang out in the comments. Anything you guys want to talk about? Bring it up as I get the tunes going. It's Friday, so that means blues. Go check out the subs, ContraStrength.store. Code CS10 still works on there for 10% off. And then if you want to go check out the Substack, I'll put a link for the Substack in the chat too. I'll be working on a Substack article update to this over the weekend, covering Trump's address and these declassifications. ABC, NBC, CBS, and CNN works for China, not America. I wouldn't say China. Like their interests sometimes can be pro-CCP for sure. But I'd say they're more so working for the transnational New World Order folk. Call it what you will. And those interests are typically pro-Chinese. It's not they don't care about nations. Nations to them are just pawns in their global game of Risk. What's my take on the wildfire smoke? Yeah, freaking those boreal forests in northern Canada, they burn every year. I bring up a page on my Brave browser that looks just like a boreal forest. So let's get the smoke map up. This is fire.airnow.gov. I use this site a lot. There's a couple others I use for wildfire maps, but this one's pretty good. A bunch of fires burning in Oregon right now, and a pretty big one in Washington, so those are kind of nasty. But all the smoke over the East Coast, which that is thick, man. All of the purple circles these are all air quality indicators, these dots, and purple is bad. Purple's very bad. Red is bad. Yellow is not good, but it's not that bad. It's moderate. And green is like good air quality. I think technically good. Yellow is moderate, red is bad, and purple severe. But that is that's a lot of purple across the East Coast, man. That's a lot of smoke. And you can see the plumes are, well, there's a few fires there. But most of these fires are up northern Alberta. Is that up into the Yukon area? So these red dots are infrared signatures. So a satellite is picking up a heat source. And these are all the heat sources that they're picking up. You know, sometimes on this map you can see an area like this. So it has a border, it has an area marked out, but there's no red dots. So this is a fire that burned a couple months ago. So the fire's out. This isn't a fire right now, but it just still has the burned area marked. But when you have an area like this, so you see this fire is ongoing right here in Oregon. It's got the heat signatures. This is the area the fire's already burned. That's kind of how to read this map. Looks like a pretty nasty fire in Washington there. And some nasty fires over by Medford. Yeah, Southern Oregon always gets real bad fires because it's so thick there. It's like thick and dry. But, okay. Up here, northern Canada, these, like, boreal forest, tundra areas, these burn almost every year. There's fires up in this region almost every year. So, yeah, it's not that out of the ordinary, honestly. Granted, I do know Canada was doing some of that glyphosate spraying. And glyphosate is a desiccant that typically makes crops drier, but I don't know where in Canada they were doing the glyphosate spraying. You know, it's not all of Canada. They're not spraying every single square inch of Canada with glyphosate. So, if I had any information on where they were spraying glyphosate, that'd be nice. Maybe there is out there. I don't know if that's a public thing, but there's that. And then, yeah, maybe I could see Canada being dipshits about forest management. But granted, can you realistically, like, yes, chat, Canada doesn't have very many people living there. 30 million people in Canada? Maybe 33 or 35 after all the immigration. But, I mean, realistically, can you manage all that forest? No. Nature is going to run its course. Sometimes shit's got to burn. So, sometimes shit's got to burn. Cycle of life. Fires are probably started by lightning storms. There's been some pretty gnarly thunderstorms coming through the western United States. So, what did this comment say? Fires all of a sudden and just out of the blue? Yeah. Kind of how they... You know, you get a lightning storm come through and then fires suddenly out of the... Not really out of the blue, I don't know. Do you live out west? Emmett Spears? Where do you live? 'Cause, I mean, I've lived, you know, Northwest, Mountain West my whole life and dealt with a lot of wildfires. Sometimes they just... When you get dry vegetation and like a thunderstorm come through, they can spark up pretty quick. Or, you know, the human caused ones, you get a dipshit throwing his cigarette on the side of the road, or Some dumbass forgetting to put out a campfire. You get the human-caused ones, but there's naturally occurring ones that are caused by lightning. And they can pop up, spread real quick, especially if it's dry and windy. And that's why I'm very familiar with these fire maps, because I have taken a lot of road trips around the West, and I have dealt with highways being closed because of wildfires and then having to detour. Okay, yeah, you live in Maryland, so you don't really deal with wildfires all that much. But they can pop up quick. And it seems random, but... And I know, you know, back in 2020, you had those election fires in September, October, right before the election, and some of those fires up and down the West Coast were probably started by Antifa. So don't get me wrong, I'm open to the possibility of, like, deep state assets, or whatever we want to call them, starting these fires, but up there in Canada, especially when it's a region that burns almost every year. I think last year around the Slave Lake region, like this exact region, there were wildfires. So there's a common occurrence. This area of Canada burns a lot. Similarly to like this region of Russia. These kind of northern tundra, boreal forest-esque regions. Some in Alaska too. Like, these burn a lot. A lot. JJ Paddle, my entire life living in New York and Connecticut, never had the smoke, except for last year and this year. That's why I'm asking a question. It might just be the jet streams. You know, over the past week or so, it seems like the jet stream shifted because there's been a lot of rain. So I think maybe some jet stream shifted and some moisture is coming up this way, and then the jet stream might be going back down this way or something like that. So it's been pretty rainy around here. Maybe jet stream's going like this. If this smoke is blowing that way, this smoke go this way. And it's probably all blowing that way. You've seen a broken bottle start a brush fire with the sun? No. Sometimes it happens. I know the conspiracizing is fun, but you need a reason. You can't just go on a whim and then jump to conclusions or make knee-jerk assumptions. I could see these fires and the smoke path being natural. I could, sure, entertain the idea that there's some human deep state new world order cause, but I need a reason to go down that path. Otherwise, then you're just wasting your time. You're wasting your mental energy with like conspiracy theories that can't do anything about it anyway, so. I think lately, you know, I've been posting a bit less on social media lately. I think it's because I'm trying to be really careful with what mental resources, time and energy that I invest into conspiracy theories, and is that time invested in those conspiracy theories, is it even going to change anything that I have control of? Do I have any control over Northern Canadian fires? Can I do anything about them? Is me posting on social media about that going to do anything about it? Is it really affecting me? No. So, it's like, how much time do humans collectively waste on things that doesn't impact them, nor they can control? Like, I get it's good to educate yourself, and if you have an interest or some pet topic that you're curious about, you can spend some time researching it, but when people are spending days, all day, looking into, like, Egyptian planes and exploding microphones on Charlie Kirk, like, whew. I don't want to. I guess I'm hitting like an early midlife crisis here, and I'm thinking that I don't want to be 75 years old, 80 years old, laying on my deathbed. Like, man, I'm really glad that I invested 1,000 hours into still researching Q's posts. That's one of them. Yeah, Q's posts were fun from 2017 to 2020, but Q hasn't posted in 5 years, man. And people are still spending hours and hours and hours with their decode salad on Q's posts. Like, dude, we don't need Q anymore. Like, we don't need it anymore. It's fun to talk about. I enjoy reading through the posts sometimes, and yeah, now and again you get a proof for all of the Q-isms posted by the Trump administration. Twitter accounts are all fun. I love those. Rah rah rah, but we don't need decodes anymore, man. You don't need them. If you think you still need decodes, then it's just you didn't learn from Q. Even in Q's post, they said, if you're trying to wake somebody up, don't talk about Q. Q is designed to help lead us, help guide our focus, help us learn things, but if you feel the need to bring Q up every conversation, every single time you talk, still do the decode salad, then you didn't learn, because you're using it as a crutch. Like, can you not think on your own without Q? The point was to be able to critically think on our own without Q. That was the point of Q. So. Not gluing myself to the road for climate change. Hope you don't. Sounds pretty uncomfortable. Cool. All right, guys. Any last anything else? Anything else? Otherwise, you guys have a good weekend. Have a good weekend. Yeah, World Cup. Yeah, World Cup. France and England tomorrow. Yeah, yeah. Spain and Argentina Sunday. Yeah. I don't really care who wins. I don't really want Messi to win, though. Gotta be honest. Go Spain. Go Spain. I'll be watching it. Should be fun. One last time. ConsciousStrength.store. .store now. Code CS10. And go check out the Creatine Monohydrate. Dump it into your pre-workout. Use it before you exercise. Some people don't even use it for exercise. They just do a scoop a day because creatine helps your brain. So if you feel like you want creatine for your brain or for muscle development, go check it out. Link below. Take care, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you Monday.